Hello folks, welcome back to the channel. Today just going to have a look now at the Marbo Sport Wall-mounted pull-down high-low pulley MH-W101 2.0. So bit of a mouthful there for the product name, but yeah, going to have a look at that today. I'll go through it with you now. Okay, so I'm not going to go into a huge amount of detail about the various dimensions and sizes and all that kind of stuff because you can find it on their website. But the big thing for me was the depth. As you can see, I'm a bit tight for space in my home gym, so I need to make sure that this fitted in behind the core-ranked wall-mounted rack. So I wanted a pulley system there. What I originally had was Core-Rank's own. It's a sort of a single pulley that you attach to the pull-up bar and it hangs down. The problem is, anybody knows uses a one like that, is that it can tend to swing the weight when you're using it because it's not running along a rail or a guide or anything like that. So they're good. It's good to get started with, but if you can afford to get something a bit more like that wall mounted or dual pulley, you won't have that swinging weight problem, and you know, makes it a lot easier to use. So yeah, the big thing for me was the max depth, which is 55 centimeters. So if you look, it just fits kind of neatly right in behind the pull-up bar there. So it actually worked out pretty perfect that way. So that's the main thing. The upright as well is a decent height there. The height you can see there. So that's really the big thing about, I suppose, the dimensions for me, and the important thing why I got this. So when I was looking at various wall-mounted options or even non-wall mounted, I had to just fit within this rack depth-wise so that I could still get a bench somewhat in there, you know, for bench pressing and whatever else. So yeah. It's a great pair with this rack for that reason. Okay, so in terms of the assembly, it's very straightforward. There's instructions with it, and it's basically just bolted together in a number of ways. Now, I will say something about the way I've done it here. It's probably not the way the manufacturer intended it, but if you notice, it's actually floating off the floor here. The reason I did that, I suppose, was kind of twofold. There's one thing is I didn't want it to go into the stringers there, the actual stringers for the rack, but I did want to go into studs behind it, flush. So that was fine. The other thing is then for cable low rows, if I'm doing low rows, that I'd want it to be elevated off the floor. So what I can do is I can take my bench and I can pull it over, and it's at the perfect height then where I can put my feet against the foot kind of guards there and do low rows it's a perfect height. So obviously if you mounted that on the floor, you'd just be sitting on the floor to do it, and you'd have a bit less height as well then in terms of the lat pull down. Now you'd probably be fine for seated movements, you'd have enough, but with movements like triceps, maybe some overhead extension type movements, you might want to get it a bit higher, whereas because I have this slightly elevated, it's perfect. Like, I can still do tricep extensions facing away, and I've got a decent head height. Now I'm not the tallest fella in the world, but yeah, it works out fairly well. So it's got basically, it's a steel, the cables are steel here, coated, and then you have, these are nylon pulleys, so they're not aluminium pulleys like you might see in more expensive systems and maybe with nylon cable. This is the cheaper nylon pulleys, but you know, generally works fine. So that's all bolted together. You've got this low foot plate here, which is steel, and it's got these balls here, which will protect the pulleys when you're pulling up. So it's got the actual loading pin. So this, obviously, it's not it doesn't come with a weight stack or anything like that. It would be a lot more expensive if it did. It's got this, it's a plate loaded system. This is a 1-inch standard bar. So you can put standard plates or Olympic. So I use all Olympic, and you can just throw them on there. So you know, you can get adapters to make these, adapt from a 1-inch to a 2-inch sleeve. But I haven't found you haven't needed it. Like, I've thrown it on, okay, there's a little bit of wiggle there, but, you know, once the plates are loaded on, it's fine. You know, it's not actually it's not making it's not moving much. It's not making much of a difference. So then basically it runs along this upright here. I know there's other ones that would have kind of systems where they run on pulleys or different sort of aluminium, but it's a fairly smooth movement now. Just put some WD-40 as well along it just to help it. And then you've got 2 pulleys at the top there. So basically the way I think it is it's a 2-to-1 weight ratio. So that's how, you know, the weight you would feel. The max weight on it is 140 kilos according to the manufacturer. Now again, could be an issue because of the way I have it elevated, but in fairness, I've done low rows with 85 kilos anyway. And it's been fine, you know, and that's just going into the stud there flowing. I'm always worried maybe when I'm pushing against it that it might break off the bolt from the stud or something like that, but it actually doesn't. It feels solid and never an issue, so it's totally fine to work with, even though I have it elevated up like that. So that's reassuring. I mean, 140 kilos is pretty decent weight limit for most people. You know, with a what is, I suppose, essentially a budget piece of kit. Now the one thing that's kind of a drawback, so I did want a high and a low pulley, obviously, to do certain other movements. Because I have it elevated up here, to do, say, cable bicep curls, I need to step on that plyo box there just behind it just to get myself a bit elevated up over it. The way it actually works to make it, so it's currently just in kind of, what would you say, it's like high pulley mode. So you'd attach your high bar to the top here and you've got it in high pulley mode. To put it into low pulley mode, you need to attach the cable here to the cable at the top here. So you attach these basically, and then it's in low pulley mode. So the tension then will be on the low pulley. So there is a bit of reconfiguration needed if you are going from the high pulley to the low pulley. That's just something to be aware of. You load everything else then the same way. The one, I suppose, disadvantage of that is when you have this attached, kind of tricky showing the camera, it's at a bit of an angle, kind of forward. So if you're doing a movement like cable bicep curls, the cable is quite close to your face. So you might just need to take a step back slightly to take and it might affect the tension slightly on the movement. But the other thing you can do, like in there, is if you have it elevated like me and you're lying on a bench, you can do line cable curls perfectly, which they work pretty well, and there's no cable to worry about in your face then, and you're all good. Now it did come with a wide like lat pull down bar. Now I'll be honest with you, the quality isn't good. It's poor. It's just powder coated. It's got no grip, no knurling. It is steel, but it's very, very light, like hollow tube kind of, and it's got like a kind of a cheap enough grips on the end. Now I got rid of it, so I can't actually show you here. So I upgraded. I bought separately this kind of more solid steel. It's a heavy enough bar, and it's got rubber grips in it wide as well. So you can use any standard pulley attachments, you know, that kind of way. So you can use your ropes and your angled kind of tricep ones here, and then I got just a short bar as well for the likes of the biceps and kind of cable rows and stuff like that. So yeah, overall, like, I would say the quality is good. You know, as I said, the included bar is poor, but fine for beginners, you know, and stuff like that. The one thing you'll notice as well, once you're doing lat pull down, this is a general kind of principle with any of these pulley systems that don't come with a seat included, is that once you start lifting a heavier weight, the weight will actually be pulling you upwards off where you're seated. So you need to come up with a system to keep yourself anchored to the floor, essentially. So what I actually do is I take my Olympic bar here, and then I'll lay it across these the safety spotter bars here, and it's at the perfect height, so I can pull my bench in under here. The bar is across my my lap, basically keeping me down on the floor. I can pull down the bar, and then I'm able to work away. So there's people have different. Some people use leg rollers. They'll use might be more expensive solution, but that works very well to me. And then I have this squat pad as well, which works out well just across the thighs, so it's not, the bar isn't digging into your thighs. So yeah, the quality itself, yeah, overall pretty happy. I mean, it's well usable. You know, you're at a price point here, so it's not going to be like a commercial gym or anything like that, but pretty good and pretty solid for what it is. And again, you know, very good for the space saving. Okay folks, just give you a quick demonstration of how it works. As I said there, I've got my bench here for my seat, got the safety spotter arms at a kind of comfortable height for me. Some people use leg rollers to tether their legs down. I just put my barbell there with the squat safety pad, so it's not scraping your thighs. So I'll show you how it looks, how the action is. So as you can see there, it's fairly smooth. No real friction. And it's a good travel distance. The upright. Okay, and I'll just show you now just how to attach the high pulley to low pulley, so you're able to use it as a low pulley. Okay. Okay, so I'll just show you now how you attach it to put it into low cable pulley mode. So it's a very straightforward process. You grab the high pulley here, you attach the carabiner from the low pulley just to it, like that. Snaps good, let it feed up, and that's basically it then. You have it there. Now you're grand to load on weight, and that's pulling out from the low pulley. Okay, so I'll just give you a quick demo now of the low pulley just in action. So got your feet against the feet rest. Again, the travel distance isn't brilliant because it's going to be no further than your feet, but just have the low bar attached there. As you can see, it's fairly smooth action. Not real shaking or anything like that, so very stable. Okay. So overall then, the pros and cons, really there's a couple of pros here. You know, the price obviously is pretty good. I got this for €190 from a supplier here in Ireland. I think, you know, it's sold all around Europe. You might be able to get it a bit cheaper than that, but for €190, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. There's a higher up model, I think the MH-W103, which is a wall-mounted version. I think that might have a C, or yeah, and it also has where you will not have to switch the cable to change it from the high to low pulley, which is a big bonus. But again, it comes out at a bigger depth from the wall. So again, this is going to be, you know, a question you have to ask yourself. Do you have this room for that? If you have extra space, you know, there's a lot more options open to you. If you have a decent bit of space up against the wall or freestanding anywhere in your gym, you've got a lot more options. But this is perfect for this when you want something that's going to fit in behind a rack and a low profile rack. So yeah, they're the major things. The price and the space saving, it'll tick those boxes there. It works very well functionally. Decent weight limit, 140 kilos. It can throw on standard or the Olympic discs. It includes a bar, which isn't great quality, but you know, you can replace that. So you know, it's pretty good. Very handy to put together. It's just a few bolts then into a stud in a wall, or you could use stringers or whatever. Then the cons, obviously, again, they're kind of inherent to this system. So you've got to switch that cable. That's the big one, I suppose, to make it from high pulley mode to low pulley, which is, you know, can be a bit of a pain in between sets, but not a huge thing. The other thing is there's no seat included. So, you know, you'd want to be able to, you know, drag over your bench. You know, hopefully you have a bench with wheels that's a bit mobile that you can bring over for it, and then anchor yourself down with some way. The height of the upright could be an issue for some people, as I said. Like if you're mounting this on the floor instead of the way I've done it, floating, for certain overhead tricep movements, I think especially if you're on the taller side, you might be restricted. You might have to kneel on the floor for it, for maybe overhead extensions with triceps and stuff like that. And then yeah, when the low cable is attached, it's because of the angle, it means that the cable is close to your face if you're doing like cable curls, which is a bit of a negative, where if you get a kind of a better one that comes out more from the wall, a higher quality, if you have that space, you know, you don't have to attach that. You can nearly stand over the low cable attachment point. So yeah, so overall, would I recommend it? Definitely. I'm very happy with it. It's a big improvement over the standard sort of one pulley system where you just have a single high cable and then, you know, the weight on a weight pin on the other side. That because it does tend to swing a bit, you know, if you move in any way kind of fast. I know there's workarounds with resistance bands where you can try and stop it, or chains to stop it from swinging, but if you can and you have a bit the money and a bit of space, it's well worth it to upgrade to something like this on a rail. And also it's just much easier to load weights on something like this because of the way the plate is loaded. Whereas if you're loading with a weight pin, you actually have to disconnect the cable, throw the weights on or move them, and then reconnect the cable. This, you can just chuck them on the sides. It's very handy, and then it's a lot cheaper. Now, obviously a weight stack could be ideal, but you're talking a lot more money to buy a system with a weight stack. So yeah, I definitely would recommend it. And yeah, any questions you have about it, please drop it in the comments. If you liked the video, give it a like there and subscribe to my channel. I'm hoping to put out some more videos very soon. Okay, cheers folks, bye bye.